Let's move on to the Mike Ferry number 11 objection of Mike Ferry's 40 objections. Oops. If I have to sell it at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. I'm sure that some of you guys have gotten that before. I know I've gotten that before, right? They're looking at it and they're talking to you and you're being honest with them and you're sharing with them what it is that based on the current market conditions, based on their current condition of their home, that their home will sell for in the realm of X amount of dollars. And what they're saying is, wow, you know what, if I have to sell at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. Now, here's where I would use a technique of just repeating what they say in the form of a question. And the tonality of what I'm going to say is like disbelief. Like, are you kidding me? That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to verbalize that, but that's going to be my tonality. Okay. So the seller comes at me and says, wow, if I have to sell it at that price, I'm just going to sell it myself. I'm going to pause. I'm like, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that if you have to sell the home at fair market price, then you're just going to decide to sell it on your own. Now just pause. Now don't talk. A lot of people don't understand the value of the strategic pause. You have to understand communication to understand how pauses. Has there ever been a time when you're in a conversation with someone and there's that awkward silence and you're starting to think to yourself, is it my turn to talk? Someone's going to talk. And the fact that you just asked the question means it's the other person's turn to talk. Now, if you come at them and say, repeat what they just said, they're going to take a second to process it. It's going to seem like an eternity, but it's not in their mind, right? They have to process how they're going to say this. And by doing this, what you're going to do is you're going to pull more information out of them. And in this scenario, let's say that, okay, so if you have to sell your home at market value, now I changed it, right? I switched it into a different objection. They said, if I have to sell at that price that I just shared with them. What I'm saying is, wait a second, let me make sure I understood what you just said. If you sell your home at market value, then you're just going to sell it on your own. And then they're going to say, yeah, I can't afford to sell it at that price and pay a commission. Now look what just happened. Now you have an entirely different objection that you need to rebuttal. And that's okay, because now we were at level 1 and we're moving down the path. If you just rebutted the first objection without asking questions like, I have to sell at this price, then I will sell it. What are you going to do? Say, okay. Is that all you're going to do? That's not sales. That's not professionalism. So what you would do is just repeat it in the phrase and form it as a question. Use your tonality to make sure that what they said is just like that's the craziest thing you've ever heard. And then they're going to come up with the objection. Now, in this scenario, they said, yeah, I can't afford to sell at that price and pay a commission. And then my response is, I'm going to follow the same rebuttal formula. Okay, so Mr. and Ms. Seller, I totally get it. I understand that you want to net the most money for the sale of your property. In fact, I've never come across a seller who wants to net the least amount on their property. But if you don't mind me asking, is selling the home on your own really something that you want to do? It's a legitimate question. Okay, so look what I did, guys. I did the rebuttal formula. I acknowledged, I made them right. I grouped them into making them right and that they're not crazy and they're not abnormal. I did a softener and I asked a question. Okay, Mr. Maselli, I totally get that you want to, I also did a level shift, right? They were talking about, I have to sell it at this price again, kind of like the last one. But what I did is I'm still they want to net the most proceeds. And the way that I made them right is by not making them wrong. I said, look, I have never come across a seller, anyone who wants to sell their home, who came to me and said, you know what, Brett, I want to sell my home for the least amount money possible. Never had that happen. Been doing this 23 years. Never had that conversation. I have had the conversation that I need to sell my home in the next 30 days. Those conversations I have had, and that's directly related to price. But we're going to stick with this objection. So I've never come across a seller who didn't want to sell their home for the most money. But if you don't mind me asking, is selling the home on your own really what you want to do? Well, no, not really. But if I have to sell at that price, then I could save on the commission if I sold it myself. Okay, guys, now look at that. We're on objection number 3 now. We started out on the one that we started with. We asked a question. Their answer turned it into another objection, and now we're on another objection. But if I could save on the commission. Now it's a save on the commission question. Okay, so do you feel that you would save on the commission? Okay, so you feel that you could save on the commission if you sold on your own. Well, yeah, okay, I totally get that. In fact, a lot of homeowners think that by selling their home on their own, we'll share them the commission. Excuse me. A lot of homeowners feel that if they sell their home on their own, they'll save on the commission, until they take into the account not just the value of their time that it takes. You have a full-time job, right, Mr. Seller? Yes, I do. Okay. I don't know if you know this, but it's a full-time job trying to sell a home. So when a seller typically takes into account how much time or how valuable their time is, in addition to the extreme legal liability they have by selling it on their home, a lot of them realize that the amount of money that they're saving on their commission isn't necessarily worth it. Do you mind if I share with you why? Well, why? Okay, now guys, this is where I'm going to go into my standard rebuttal. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right now, your home will sell for the most money in recorded history forever. What your home is worth right now, what you could sell it for right now, is worth more than any time since you've owned it. Did you know that? No, I didn't. Okay, so you do want to net the most money. We established that. And you want to sell it in the least amount of time, right? You want to do it with less hassle. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so if we wait until next year, can you not sell this home? No, I need to sell this home. Okay, why is it that you need to sell this home again? Remember, I'm going for the motivation. In the last objection in number 10, it was a job transfer. So I'm going for the motivation. But now what I want to do is I want to start keying it up for a closing statement, right? So I would go through, look, your home is worth more now than it ever has been. So if you sell it at fair market price, even if you're giving a deal, chances are the bidding process in this market will bring it up a little bit more. But you got to market it correctly. You got to put time and effort into it. You've got to have somebody who knows what they're doing at the helm. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Do you know where the first point you would start when it comes to selling a home? No, I don't know the first point to start. Okay. Well, that's what I do. That's what I experienced in. But let's say that you try and sell it on your home and 30, 45, 60 days, 90 days goes past. And now not only have you had the debt service on it, but the amount of time that you have wasted, the amount of time that you've put into it, trying to figure it out on your own, is now surpasses the amount that you would have just paid in a commission. Does that make sense to you? Well, yeah, that does make sense to me. Okay, so if I could show you a way that I can not only get you the most money for your home, sell it in the quickest amount of time, and do it in the least amount of hassle at a fair price, is that something that you would list your home with me for? Well, yeah, Brett, that's what I do. Okay, great. So the one thing that I want to point out when I go through these objection handling trainings is that the person who asks the questions controls the conversation, always. So as you practice your objection handlers, don't necessarily just practice the words, practice the scenarios in your head. Now, we're on objection number 11 of 40 objections over the next time. So it's going to be taking the next several weeks to actually get through these, but practice them. We're going to get the replay out, get with your role play partners, practice out these objections. You're not going to do it 100% the same way that I do it, but it's not about doing it the exact same way I do it. It's about learning the structure of the conversation and learning how to really kind of think on your toes.